Hello, names A through Z. Here, Anthony. Boxing. I was attached to fake words, fake conversations, and fake locations with the news and with other people by them, by the news, and by Interbranch at the same time. They have a whole bunch of wire crime acts and methods on a mass scale originally and still. How I recorded this is they know, and they're covering up life progressions. That's why they won't get on paper. They're switching names into branch. The Britain Superior Court's Facebook page made rape threats against me as one of the people forcing a principal child abuser. And he was reportedly arrested anyway after that for upskirt pictures at a shopping center. People associated with the intelligence community with shopping centers and malls and names and spots next to it. The side entrance of a town line drive in Wethersfield, Connecticut, has a Mike Levine involved further with the principal upskirt nature, and F.B.I. with upskirt pictures on Twitter before the sale of it to Elon Musk. Now, also the news, they're recording themselves, and they were showing they already recorded themselves on a mass scale, including all other media, people like speaking on the Diddy trial. They have collusions changing and faking what people say. If they try to bring evidences properly, not leaving out the court's rules at the same time, with names on all sides of that case, before it too, and with the Connecticut Judicial Branch offices and corrections offices increasingly involved with Puff Daddy and Usher and campuses A through Z and names next to them, and the news that attached me to fake conversations with them. It was simultaneously their collusions with sources of the other news locations, and as people involved at corners of streets and next to the principal child abuser's campus. And I recorded them hiding and changing and faking things and hiding things from parents and criminally foreign influence uses of readings of statutes, precedents, and the difference of all kinds. Like people that run unions have rights to lie about others if they run against them in the union. Like a John LeConte. He's one of the ones involved with the F.B.I. and his daughter, a Dawn LeConte. I never had a word of conversation with her in my life. There are proofs that the F.B.I. or the courts involved with proven child abusers, leaders of kids, first force, rules all kinds of natures of organized crimes at the same time, and the differences of them. There are a bunch of fakes. You think the people that run prisons or that are in them care? Look, you can see how the people run them. You know, they have sexual perversions, and they have all kinds of organized crimes, including medicines crimes. And where that is manifest, they have methods of it. And a breaching method already showed them. These are countries A through Z. You guys have our founders framed for slavery. Our founders had declassified how and why they didn't have free speech. And then as James Madison, our only founder that we're allowed to speak about, but to know the name of. But nature itself shows us, and our founders gave us president/chief. Nature gives us the slash part between it. We'll examine this. But in other words, James Madison's plan to counter-extort George Washington and the rest of the founders is what we were supposed to be honest about the extortion of George Washington. But this is declassified, no. But we have their words used, leaving out how they declassified how and why they didn't have free speech. All exceptions in exception nature are collusions with uses of their words, explained through and as the breaching methods needs to keep other things, others, ourselves, blamed for its roles with slavery entrenched, for example, non-distinctly northern colonies, southern colonies. You don't leave out why there is why and how. James Madison's plan forced the Civil War, forced them to force the revolution, forced the Constitutional Convention, forced the Declaration of Independence. Not one person had free speech, including themselves. Otherwise, they would have been censored through themselves. everyone's being haven't been through systems tactical ulterior. From the one as nature, when its nature is not criminal insidious in its nature as it shows us, it goes using the individual species body of individual bodies. So we can discern that which is generating all differences and things. And so we can discern where and how evolution's fruits, gifts, and means out of nowhere come. Otherwise, where and how our means are forced from here as force, space, nature transfer. But now we have things like means and money, resources, and syntax regarding it through an our system's tactical ulterior from the one. From nature's means to answer our questions, means out of nowhere. We don't leave out how there was a breaching method entrenched. They have replaced right from the communications of America's founders the breaching method. Also replaced right from the communications of nature itself. Nature itself shows us one of the things that both the crazy laws against Native American difference, as the human difference, A through Z, it was consciously helping and hurting Native Americans and the difference of that and making everyone miss how it's using differences. We have the same color eyes, different color eyes at the same time. These and other revelations, like how the fish have two eyes. In other words, it's not, we have all these revelations tied to where and how we have black people's rights of eyes. And all these books have been tactically left out. The book depository reported involved with the reported, the reports, plural, conflicting reports on the shooting of the assassination of President/Chief Kennedy. Excuse me. And others in the Kennedy. You guys don't even have James Madison's plan and the counter-extortion and the extortion of George Washington allowed, told, true. How you get away with it comes with all kinds of hyper-evidential recorded proofs that can be used to show, too. On a mass scale, they're putting fake transcripts in databases, including at campuses of all ages and natures, including at courts. Courts have roles with all sides of criminal and civil cases. Their family members, their neighbors, different natures of conjunctions to them, and then at the same time, it'll be people tied to them, corners of the street to them. The difference of that. It's not by accident they go back and forth, leaving out, like, for example, how there are doctors in medical campuses and roles with all these different, like the foreign and domestic military, have roles with different types of drugs and things to make themselves look undercover. Whole bunch of people with Central Connecticut State University recorded confessed demonstrate. I never saw my neighbor there or his cousins, Ray Colo. His educators recorded confessed demonstrate confirmed. They have intercities, intercampus. I never had a class with them. Almost I was in a class with them, and I got out of it. Joe Lombardo, who I never had a word of conversation with in life, and Jamie Caron were in there put in there with a Ray Colo, and I had already recorded them and then and now involved with predicate acts methods from off the campuses. People are influencing roles with predicate acts and with methods of predicate acts. Increasingly, the Connecticut Judicial Branch offices and conjunctions to it and to that are roles with all kinds of news. Like, these are not legitimate roles with any age or nature of investigation or recollection of any instance. They are using readings of statutes. They're already recorded using readings of statutes, leaving out, faking, self-valuing, having been faked exceptions to, like, the readings of statutes and the validity of it. There are ways to pretend that reading to how people deal with predicate acts that people need to speak about means that someone needs to be charged, rather than observing that the whole predicate acts methods are recorded. Facebook and the differences of the guilt of Facebook or the FBI or the various police departments involved with them with the same houses, professionally and criminally and personally, and one's tied to them. This is intercities roles with time collusions with murders, untimely deaths, domestics, including especially on a mass scale. People don't yell at women. I mean, they won't hit people that don't hit women when they're in apartments and things like that, and when they were forced to entertain people saying different things at different times that are involved with investigators, all kind of sexual circles and things like that with the interbranching. And they're forcing that to be the only thing manifest because they are not alone. It's a foreign too. And overt criminal enterprises and private ones and terrorists. FSB recorded themselves. They're recording, confessing, demonstrating, confirming they have roles before and after the World Trade Center attack, with other Connecticut news locations in their sources, and the differences of the guilt by the intelligence there or at the intelligence next to their places, or conjunctive to that. It is manifest that way because of where and how their difference is used remotely by the breaching method, but through ourselves. Otherwise, that body is sensed, including if that body is a majority of people, including if it is everyone of a country, and that is adapted to where they try to adapt their syntax to how the breaching method measures and maintains it. Criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought. It's recorded right where and how. Nature shows us to have it hyper-evidential, and we have it replaced. We have what our founders communicated about how the breaching method replaced with black pupils, whites of eyes communicate. When nature is not only communicating as criminal insidiousness nature. That's part of how we have discerned. Nature shows us that some ways it will only be nature as criminal insidious nature, which is part of how we can discern force, space, nature, transfer, as a special difference transfer too. Like Earth has a special difference being communicated to us by the identity of nature itself, the identity of all space/existence. So, but people don't follow mandated law, and they use wire crime acts and methods. And again, Weathersfield police, they fake conversations with me as a kid, now as an adult. FBI is worse than criminal incompetence and collusions with a whole bunch of overt criminal enterprises and private ones with the same names they brought up and are bringing up increasingly between campuses too, and with names next to them increasingly involved with whole methods of it, uses of each age, a factory name, multi-front for a method.